لكن تحديت الظروف وخضتها وحدي صبورا مستعينا بالصلاة. كم مرة عصف الأنين بداخلي، كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه محن تمر، وكم كرهت مصابها.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. ما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله to every single one of you that has tuned in to watch this video. And this video is very important, and a lot of double standards, hypocrisy, manipulation, deceit, and various other evil will be addressed in this video. Now, first of all, I want to address my Muslim brothers and sisters, the Muslim community, and the Muslim parents as well. Let's address everyone. We live in very strange times where Muslim Instagram influencers or average Muslims that just create an Instagram account can manipulate such huge numbers of Muslims, whereby they are the standard bearers and we resort to viewing their content, and by that they become household names and we start investing in them financially, which we're going to discuss, and we start building trust in them. And honestly speaking, they have no talent. Let's be honest. You know, what talent do they have? Very little. But they break the taboo, obviously, where Muslim couples come on, show affection. You know, the fraudsters that we're going to address very soon. And what happens is they enter into our hearts and they build confidence inside our hearts, whereby we start becoming, you know, fanboys or fangirls. And then what happens is these fraudsters know that they can manipulate us and take advantage of us. As you know, I don't get involved in scandals or controversy. I don't get bogged down with these sort of stuff. You know, don't get me wrong. I was following developments because it was, you know, Muslim wealth that was being usurped, especially in a cause that was close to our hearts, meaning the Rohingya cause. So naturally, it got you know, headlines, and I was communicating and following developments closely. Didn't really make any comments on it on social media, but I was following developments. Now, due to a recent live stream with a prominent Mufti, and we'll get to that, we'll discuss that in depth and in length later. The Charity Commission has, you know, concluded their investigation, and the information and what they found is very disturbing. And I want to add as well is that celebrity culture, you know, لا يخافون لومة لائم. And I'll be honest with you, you know bro Hajji by now, going in on 2 years or over 2 years. It doesn't matter who it is. They, scholars or whoever it may be, will be held to account for their lack of wisdom, bad decisions, being gullible, and not following the protocols and the principles of Islam when it's required, especially in such matters where they really shouldn't be poking their nose into it. Or if they want to get involved, then they need to follow the appropriate channels and communicate with those who are actively involved to gather you know, factual information. And we'll discuss that in length when we get to the prominent Mufti later. The two fraudsters in question that we are going to pose some hard-hitting questions to, rather the individual, rather the other person, the fraudster, is going to be serving time behind bars, rightfully so, due to his deceit and breach of trust. But Abdullah, who joined a live stream with a prominent Mufti, honestly, do you really think that you could come back into the public eye just because you appeared on a prominent Mufti's live stream and spewing nothing but half-truths and inconsistencies? And we will tackle and we would ask some hard-hitting questions, rest assured. So believe you me, by the end of this video you've got some questions to answer, I assure you, because you played with the believers and you played with their wealth and you lived a double life and you cannot be trusted. You are a person whose testimony will never be accepted. Tawbah is one thing, that's between you and Allah Azza wa Jal, that's fine. But when it comes to the believers, and what we judge is what's apparent, and now that you have committed crimes and you have betrayed our trust, we will never trust you again. No matter how many live streams you come on, with no matter how many prominent celebrities, if you want to call it that, to try to seek clout and publicity to, now that you feel this chapter is closed, now I can come back to public life. No. So let's get to this video. Those who are familiar with Bro Hajji and his content over the last 2 years will know that I don't just waffle and I don't just talk, and I'm not a person that just makes videos for the sake of just waffling. No, I want to address this matter because our failings, let's be fair, our failings for falling for this celebrity culture, this Muslim influencers, and we just follow them and just give donations to unknown people who are unqualified in matters that require serious studying, i.e. ruqya. We entrusted our spiritual affairs to unknown people. Let's call it as it is, unknown people. Those who are familiar with the Bro Hajji channel would know that I am a person that doesn't just talk for the sake of talking. I present evidences and I back up my claims to the best of my ability. Now, the Prophet ﷺ has informed us about the 7 deadly sins. Okay, there's 7 deadly sins that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ informed us about, and it's relevant to this particular issue at hand. Now, in my hand I have Sahih Bukhari. Okay, Sahih Bukhari, and as you can see on screen, okay, there's a narration. Okay, there's a narration, and this is narrated by Abi Huraira radiyallahu anhu an al-Nabiy sallallahu alayhi wa sallam qal, that he heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, ijtanibu as-sab'a al-mubiqat, that he said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, beware or avoid the 7 destructive sins, or the 7 deadly sins. قالوا يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وما هن. They asked, or they said, O Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, what are they? So the first one is الشرك بالله, to commit shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal, والسحر, and magic, وقتل النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق, that to kill a person, okay, that Allah has forbidden except for a right. وَأَكْلُ الرِّبَى, and to consume usury. وَأَكْلُ مَالِ الْيَتِيمِ, and to eat the wealth of the orphan. Okay, so Sahih Bukhari, okay, Sahih Bukhari, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam informed us of the 7 deadly sins, or the 7 destructive sins, and included in the 7 deadly sins is eating the wealth of the orphan. Okay, eating the wealth of the orphan. So we're going to now dwell into the report from the Charity Commission, and we would also obviously show you the fraudsters in question, unless you don't know who they are. It's important that obviously I show you who these individuals are, and then once we present the facts, then we'll ask some hard-hitting questions based on her own comments from the live stream that she did with the prominent Mufti. So as you can see on screen, okay, we've got a headline from 5 Pillars, which says social media stars Hasanat and Abdullah put 200,000 of charity into personal accounts. Okay, and they are the 2 fraudsters in question. The Charity Commissioner said social media stars Hasanat and Abdullah put around 200,000 of charity money into their personal bank accounts. Okay, so here it is. This is just a story. We're going to get into the actual report in just a sec. So here, I'll just leave it on screen for you so you could actually see the fraudsters in question. Now, £200,000 they raised. Now, this is where I go back to our failings as well, which is, why are we donating our hard-earned money to nobodies who are basically, just acting up on camera and plastering it all over social media? What was running through people's minds when they were donating to these two individuals? We've got plenty of reputable charities that we can donate who are working tirelessly on the ground in those areas where we could give our money. Now, £200,000 has been usurped by these two individuals, and they placed it into their personal bank accounts. Okay, they placed it into their own personal bank accounts. So that's just the headline. We're going to go into it in much detail. Now, this is a lesson for us. Just because a person puts on a thobe and he has his dear wife next to him and they start acting up on camera, start showing affection and emotion and compassion, and everyone's heart melts and says, oh, subhanallah, look at these two couple, and then all of a sudden they start amassing a following, and then in the end they know, I'm not saying all couples, because there's many of them, and I don't even see the point. You understand? Compassion, emotions can be done off camera. We don't need to see that. But if you want to show it, that's up to you. If you feel comfortable with that, whatever floats your boat, whatever you feel comfortable with, each to their own, like they say. That's a different story altogether. But the point here is, which I'm trying to emphasize on, is that they're actually nobodies with no talent. All they do is they amass a following due to whatever stupidity they do, or whatever, even to a certain extent they grow, they have beards, they have thobes, and they grow a beard, and then they narrate hadith from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They start quoting Quranic ayat. They start, creating these, short, powerful stories, and all of a sudden our heart melts, and then thereafter we don't know what's in their hearts. But then when they start asking for donations, start asking for money, providing that it's going through a charity, and providing that you could verify that it's going through a charity, don't just part with your money like that. Be careful. Lesson for us: don't be duped and don't be gullible, because lessons need to be learned from this experience. And we'll get to the prominent Mufti later, and we'll discuss obviously the issues we've got with him as well. Now, as you can see on screen as well, we've got the gov.uk website, and it mentions the decision. The charity inquiry, a fund raised for the charitable purpose of the prevention and relief of poverty of Rohingya refugees. And I can see published 15th December 2020. And it mentions, and I'll read, the fundraising portals indicated that there were two trustees of the charitable fund, Mr. Mohammed, Hasanat, and Miss Ruksana Ali, or Miss Ali, together the trustees. The fundraising portals encourage donations to the charitable fund, including directly to a personal bank account in the name of one of the charitable fund's trustees, Mr. Hasanat, and through his PayPal account. Information on the fundraising portal pages related to charitable fund indicated that over 200,000 was raised and donated in its name, meaning he placed it in private bank accounts. The portals also included photos of the trustees, which suggested that they were helping the Rohingya refugees. Okay, so they included photos. Now we'll get to what she said about the 68k. Don't worry, all would be revealed. The Commission opened an inquiry under Section 46 of the Act into the Charitable Fund on the 2nd of April 2018. The scope of the inquiry was to examine a number of issues. Now listen. Issues including whether the trustees had properly exercised their legal duties and responsibilities under charity law in the administration, governance and management of the fund, whether the trustees have put charitable funds at risk by using them for non-charitable purposes, whether the trustees could adequately account for the end use of the charitable funds which had already been applied. Now this is key here right now. Whether the trustees could adequately account, because remember, it's a responsibility, it's an amana. So when they have requested funds, because they went out, and we're going to get to that as well, they went out to Bangladesh, we're going to cover that as well. So when they amassed all of this money, and they gathered all this money due to your kind donations, because you fought for the cause of the Rohingya, you donated, again, wrongfully. And I say this is wrong. Why are you donating to them? Why are you not donating to reputable charities, but you donated just because they somehow melted your heart, and their videos somehow inspired you, God only knows how, but they duped you, and we'll show, and we'll go into her double life as well, okay, later on when we address the prominent Mufti. So you see the basis of the investigation of the charity, okay. They were very, very concerned regarding these two individuals, the trustees, Mr. Mohammed Hasanat and Miss Ruksana Ali, okay, regarding their misappropriation and their issues regarding the funds that they have amassed regarding the Rohingya charity. The inquiry examined the trustees' responses to its Section 47 direction of 9th August 2019 alongside other relevant evidence such as bank statements to establish that, and he mentions, the total charitable funds raised and held within the trustees' multiple bank accounts. So you see, they were spreading the funds across multiple bank accounts, clear deceit, and PayPal account amounted to £213,898.60. Although the trustees told the inquiry that £115,344.92 has been expendable on charitable activities, the sum included internal transfers between the trustees' bank accounts, which the Commission does not consider to be charitable expenditure, and the trustees did not provide adequate evidence, such as receipts, to substantiate any of the charitable expenditure. We're going to get to that regarding her statements. Don't worry about it. We're going to comment on that. The balances in the trustees' personal bank accounts, when frozen during the inquiry, was around £145,149.79. This figure was £68,748.81 less than the total funds raised of £213,898.60. The inquiry therefore considered that the £68,748.81 of charitable funds could not be properly accounted for. Given the mixture of charitable and personal funds, the inquiry concluded that the funds had potentially been used for non-charitable private expenditure by the trustees. Let's repeat that again. Given the mixture of charitable and personal funds, the inquiry concluded that the funds had potentially been used for non-charitable private expenditure by the trustees. So you see the scope of the investigation, that there's been serious foul play, multiple bank accounts, and I think I read 6 bank accounts and a PayPal account, and there was over £68,000 missing. Okay, £68,000 missing, and this, raised alarm bells. And as the Commission mentioned, that this is potentially used for non-charitable expenditure by the trustees.
I didn't steal the money. I can understand why people think that, because since everything came out, everyone's mindset has always been everything that we did was wrong, it was a scam, and everyone's sort of probably gotten used to the idea that we did steal it. So the thing is, what the Charity Commission, so you're talking about the Rohingya money, but yeah, the Charity Commission, so there's been a lot of misleading headlines, but when you read the actual article, the Charity Commission have said that one of their main criticism was that we didn't register a charity. Now, okay, I'll come back to that later. And then also there's a big fat question mark over 68,000 that's unaccounted for. Now they said it could have potentially gone towards the Rohingya funds. They don't know because it got mixed up in our personal accounts. So that potential question mark has come from us simply not being able to provide them receipts. We didn't know. I was unorganized, and it was our first time. Had I have known that that would have happened, I would have provided receipts. But what we did have, the journey we shared with everyone, was videos, live footage, photos.
But we will address the prominent Mufti later, obviously, and speak to, address him regarding certain issues that we have. So when she was speaking to the prominent Mufti, she mentioned that, yes, she acknowledged that I had no receipts. Okay, I had no receipts, but there were photos, video footage, and proof, according to her, that the funds of 68,000 went to the Rohingya. Okay, so not a penny from there. Obviously, travel expenses, etc. But we're going to show you now, okay, that the money that was missing, that was unaccounted for, there's no receipts, there's no proof. We will show you the inconsistency, and the story that she's presenting is damage control. I'm going to show you context as to how much she's lying, okay? And you would think when you contemplate and then you start to ponder, you're thinking, okay, impossible. So let's get into this now. Okay, over 68,000 pounds was missing. Travel expenses, etc. Hotels. Okay, when you were in Bangladesh for 3 months, okay, no problem. So what we'll do, okay, with the flights and with the hotels, we'll remove £5,000. Okay, so the 68 grand, we'll remove 5,000 for travel expenditure, food and hotels, etc. So you've got 63 grand to play with. You got no receipts, you got no proof. Now what we're going to do is we're going to show you the currency exchange. Okay, we're going to show you the currency exchange to present context now, to show you how much money, okay, if all of the money that was raised went to the Rohingya, may Allah preserve them and alleviate them from their suffering. If it went to them, think about the money that you had live, that you didn't spend a penny on yourselves, you didn't steal the money, which is nonsense, you did. Okay, the double life, you guys ain't trusted. Okay, you guys are not trustworthy. You guys had a double life. At one point, you admitted you were a kafira. Your husband was a kafir murtad, and again, pilgrim. You know what pilgrim is? Huh? Pilgrim strikes again. You think I ain't familiar with what was going on? You think I don't know? And again, the source, when we get to the Prominent Mufti, don't worry. We've got plenty of information, and we'll address him later on as well. You don't think we know? Don't you think that the information that's already public, which was public, and other things that are not public, you think you're going to take us for a ride? Yes, the Prominent Mufti might be gullible enough to just listen to your rhetoric and, just accept it like it's gospel. Again, we'll deal with that later. So 68,000, 5,000 will allow you, okay? So 63,000 pounds. As you can see on screen, okay, the Great Britain pound sterling, okay, 63,000 I've put. Converted into Bangladeshi taka, okay? Bangladeshi taka. It amounts to 7,263,733 pound and 5 pence. Now this is the exchange rate as of today. So give and take, it'll be probably more or it'll be probably less. Now back to you, Abdullah. Okay, back to you now. 7,263,733 pound and 5 pence. Round it up, round it down, regardless. So are you telling me just over 7 million, okay, 7 million Bangladeshi taka was spent on the Rohingya, but according to you, taking a few photographs or making a few videos and, showing, obviously, distributing cash here and there, you can not account for over 7 million Bangladeshi taka. Are you taking us for a ride? Do you think we're stupid? 7 million Bangladeshi taka, that's 63,000 pounds. You cannot prove that you've given to the Bangladeshi or the Rohingya refugees. Okay, stealing money from the orphans. And as the Prophet ﷺ said, this is one of the 7 destructive sins. You can't prove it. If a person had an upright character and a person was known in the community for, righteousness and piety and good conduct and, honesty, etc., then we could say, all right, you know what, potentially they did. But they should have. You should have had receipts. But we can obviously, the committee members or whoever it may be, the ulama, will sit and say, all right, fair enough, we know this brother or we know the couple, etc., etc. Potentially they might have. It will still be investigated, don't get me wrong. If you can't prove it, it will be investigated with the full force of the law, and the Muslims or the people of authority and influence will get together and the professionals will deal with the man. Now, you are known for living a double life. You and your husband are known for lewd acts publicly and trying to, recruit people. And, what's public is public and what's private is private. But what I'm saying is that you guys have no honor and dignity with the Muslims. Going to the clubs, okay? Going to the clubs, the day youth, and yourself, wearing the niqab, acting all righteous and pious, okay? Showing this act to the people. We were fooled at the end of the day. Let's just call a spade for spade. We were fooled. We were gullible. We were the people that just fell for your act and your charade. Good acting skills, you should be nominated for bloody Oscars or BAFTAs or whatever you want to call it. You did a good job, but you got caught. So you weren't that good. You weren't that good, were you? But at the end of the day, your account that all the money was spent, 7 million Bangladeshi taka. No receipts, no paperwork, no proof, no documents, nothing whatsoever. And you're telling me, based on your reputation and your damn right hypocrisy, that we're going to take your word for it? We're going to take your word that you spent 7 million Bangladeshi taka on the Rohingyas? No. You spent it on your own luxuries. And you had an apartment in Canary Wharf. But Canary Wharf, okay, I'm from Birmingham and I know a lot of brothers from London. Canary Wharf isn't central Birmingham, you know, or inner Birmingham. And it isn't, you know, what we would call a area that is deprived. It's a very affluent area. How did you afford? Because remember, your Dayuth husband, the kafir, officially on record, was trying to rent it out. So I'm sure you purchased that particular apartment. Even if you didn't, can we ask how you purchased that? Because remember, you were doing ruqya as well, unqualified, you know, a very deep science, you know, regarding matters of the unseen, etc. And you were performing ruqya, okay, charging people extortionate amounts. And then the Prominent Mufti also recommended you as well, but we'll get to that later. I keep saying that because that's the you know, that's going to be the icing on the cake. This celebrity culture, put it this way, from all people, you know I ain't going to fall for it. You people know that I ain't going to fall for it. So we'll address him later. No, Abdullah, never would this be accepted from you. You stole the money. Simple. I'm going to say it as it is. نحن نحكم على ظاهر. We judge what's apparent. What I can see from your deceptive nature and your husband or ex-husband or whatever you want to call it, you stole the money because it's unaccounted for. You can't prove it. 7 million Bangladeshi taka spent in 3 months with no receipts. Okay, 7 million. With a handful of photos and a handful of videos, you spent 7 million Bangladeshi taka. Not at all. As we go back to the report now, conclusions. The inquiry concluded that the trustees were responsible for misconduct. Look at this. Were responsible for misconduct and or mismanagement in the administration of the charitable fund. The trustees ultimately failed to comply with the trustee duties, which are outlined in the Commission Guidance CC3, the essential trustee. The inquiry was particularly concerned by the trustees' failure to implement appropriate governance and financial controls at any point for managing the charitable fund. This ultimately made it impossible for them to ensure that charitable funds were properly protected and applied. This ultimately made it impossible, keywords there, Umm Abdullah, impossible for them to ensure that charitable funds were properly protected and applied. Okay, and then it mentions the commission recognizes that the trustees cooperated as they were expected to with the inquiry. Now, notice with your live stream with the Prominent Mufti, you mentioned it's come loose. You mentioned your, you know, I was cooperating and they asked me.
Not very recently, a couple of months ago, they asked me for permission. The remaining funds, can we send it to a reliable source to the Rohingya refugees? And I gave them permission for that. So alhamdulillah, I am happy to know that the money for where it was intended to go, it has gone to that. It has gone to the Rohingya refugees, all the remaining.
Like, you really believe that because you cooperated, that's why they released the funds to the appropriate charities? Are you living in cuckoo world? You were investigated for fraud, mismanagement, misconduct, and you had no choice but to cooperate. As it states, the commission recognized that the trustees cooperated as they were expected to. You didn't do any favors. Okay, you didn't do any favors. You were expected to. And if you weren't going to cooperate, then the full force of the law would have been thrown in your face. So don't act like you did the Muslims and you did the Charity Commission a favor. You were expected to. So stop with that charade. This person who has, you know, and I don't want to go into the details of the deception and the fraud and the double life, etc. And they were exposed, you know, having 2 separate Instagram accounts and, you know, going abroad and then, you know, checking in with this. Look, it's all out there. I don't need to go into that because I don't deal with this gossip. I want to get to the real issue, the crux of the matter. Now I want to address some questions to the Prominent Mufti. Okay, I want to address some questions to the Prominent Mufti. A person who's a Mufti, okay, is a person that issues verdicts and fatwa. Now, a person with such titles, okay, a person with such titles should investigate the matter at hand. Okay. First of all, you're not even from this country. Okay. So what invested interest you had? Because you hardly played any role when the investigation was being carried out, and, you know, Al-Madad Outreach and various brothers on the ground who were dealing with this matter. You were not involved. You know, you weren't hands-on. It's not your issue. You live on the other side of the world. You're not from around here. So it's our issue. Okay. So Al-Madad Outreach obviously dealt with this matter and did a beautiful job. You decided to bring Abdullah to question her and to speak to her about this matter now that it's concluded, and obviously it's been found that they've been using charitable money for their own evil gains and luxuries. So before bringing her on, I'm just from a layman perspective, okay. Now to add as well, I'm not denying that you do great work. I've watched some videos of yours and I have nothing but praise, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you. But we're not going to fall for this celebrity culture. So if you fall short of your Islamic responsibilities and not adhere to principles and the methodology set out according to your own role, you will be called out for it regardless, because the Muslims have jealousy for their religion, and when it's not being followed to the T, when it should be principally and manhajan, we'll call you out. Simple. Okay, so you can't say, oh well, who are you? It doesn't matter who I am. What's haqq is haqq, and what's batil is batil, and where you fall short, we have got the right to ask questions. So that's what I'm doing. Before bringing it on, it's your job to find out what happened so that you can deal with the matter Islamically in the correct manner. So you had no facts. You didn't reach out to Al-Madad Outreach, who investigated the matter, who actually had the true information that you could have used and utilized to then counter and question Abdullah when she joined your life. So the first question to ask is this, okay, because I've watched it, you played no role whatsoever, okay? You were just basically, it was like counseling, if anything, okay? So the first question I'd like to ask is, why didn't you reach out to Al-Madad Outreach? Because they dealt with the matter, okay? They spoke to the families and they were largely involved. Now, before the naysayers come on and the celebrity, fanboys and fangirls, no one's denying the good that he's done, and he consistently does, okay? No one's denying that, and we're not taking that away from him. But at the end of the day, we've got the right to ask questions, and it's our Islamic right to do so. When they fall short and they don't handle their responsibilities as they should, we've got the right to question, and we've got the right to ask follow-up questions. So that's my initial concern. Why didn't you not reach out to Al-Madad, who spoke to the families, who dealt with the case, before bringing Abdullah onto your live stream? That's number one. Number two is this. Abdullah hasn't deleted her account. Okay, Abdullah hasn't deleted her account. Now that the case is over, okay, she was more than capable to come out on her own Instagram platform, which she has over 475,000 followers. Okay, and she could have addressed this matter on her own. Why did you bring her on your platform? Okay, I don't get that. You are largely uninvolved in this matter when the investigations were taking place. And once again, I have to stress, you're not from this country. It's got nothing to do with you. Yes, we'll deal with your claims that I only met them briefly twice. Again, we'll touch on that later. So that's another question and a concern as well. She's got 475,000 active followers on her Instagram account. Okay, so if she wanted to come out publicly and address this matter, what was the need for you to bring her on your platform when, one, you didn't contact the investigators, Al-Madad Outreach, who are on the ground, who investigated, who were dealing with this, who were speaking to the families, who were even from her own mouth acknowledged that Al-Madad was dealing? Why? I don't get it. It just doesn't sit right with me. She could have went on her own platform and she could have addressed her followers in whatever manner that she sees fit. Why did you invite her to your platform? And then on top of that, you didn't even investigate the matter. As a mufti, you're supposed to deal with both sides. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, where it says, oh, you believe, if a sinner comes to you, verify it. Okay? Verify it. So why didn't you verify the information? Rather, you just spoke to her and you just gave her a platform, and you played no role as a mufti, with all due respect. You played no role at all. So let's call it out as it is. You didn't go out and fact check as a mufti is supposed to do. You're a person of iftar. You're a person of fatwa. So you've got to be very careful. What did they say? That the mufti is the prisoner of the person seeking the fatwa. He's a prisoner. So you as a prisoner You needed to get your act together and contact the relevant people on the ground. I keep mentioning that because it's a massive issue. Why bring it out to the forefront? It's a UK issue. You have got no business in dealing with this issue. So what other reasons could there be that you invited her to a platform to discuss this matter? Also, according to your own testimony, you said, okay, and as you can see on screen, this is from Muslim Daily. Okay, Muslim Daily. Follow him on Instagram and on Twitter. Muslim Daily adds, okay, this is very important, facts behind the scenes. He met them on different occasions and made a video or two with them, meaning the prominent Mufti. He said they met twice briefly. This is not a representation of reality or of the reality when he had very coordinated communications with them. I'm going to touch on that later. He definitely recommended people to go to Hasanat for Ruqya and refused to speak against them. We're going to touch on that as well. He refused to speak against them because he said he was busy and he didn't want to give it attention as it would drag him down. And this is Muslim Daily, my brother paraphrasing. And these 2 points are problematic. I put this out to you, okay? To the prominent Mufti. I put this out to you. When you're back in the UK, when this whole pandemic, bi'idhnillah, balls over, you could contact myself or anyone else. It doesn't necessarily need to be me, okay? And those on the ground. And you've been communicating, okay? So let's just get that out there as well. I'm very familiar with what's going on. Just because I haven't spoken about it, because, you know, there was more important people on the ground that were dealing with it. So I didn't want to make a video about it when it was ongoing. I just sort of kept quiet and I just, you know, followed the developments as it should have been. So back to what I said. When you said you met twice briefly, that's not a true representation, is it? So when you're back in the UK, no problem. I'll be willing to, and the source, to meet you personally to show you that in reality, I don't buy that, mate. I don't buy that at all. So that's point one. Let's get that out of the way. So when you're in the UK, okay, when you arrive, you know, when this is all over, I'll be willing to meet you and others, okay, the source as well, okay. We'll play what we have to show you that, okay. Well, the investigation was ongoing, by the way. Another thing that bothers me as well, okay, another thing that bothers me is this, is that you recommended people to go to Hasanat for Ruqya, okay, and you refused to speak against them. Those who follow Bro Hajji would know that I'm not the type of person that looks at things, you know, from a grassroots level. I really like to look at things in depth and dissect and, you know, look at the bigger picture to understand who's fibbing and, you know, whether there's inconsistencies and distortions. Now, and we acknowledge, you know, the problem Mufti is not from this country. Okay. So, let's put this out there. If a person is unknown and Islamic credentials is very important, okay, you being a Mufti, went through the appropriate training and you put the work in and Allah blessed you with obviously going out to wherever you went out and studied and you attained that position. So when you're from a foreign land and you come to another country to recommend someone for Ruqya, okay, you recommended people with your platform, okay, not knowing anything about them, okay, that is problematic to recommend such a person. Now, as you can see, look at the damage. Look at the damage. Stealing people's money, charging for Ruqya, being deceptive, not having any qualifications or being trained in that particular fun, in that particular science or field, yet you recommended them. Okay, and how many people, we've got no statistics and we will never have the statistics, but how many people actually went to the fraudster, the kafir, okay, and took their services because of your recommendation? Okay, think about that for a second. Okay, so you recommended people very hastily, okay, when you're a foreigner to this land. So you can't be recommending people in this land when you do not know anything about them. If you met them briefly on 2 occasions, then why are you recommending them for Ruqya, which you know is not an ordinary matter? It's a very, very deep matter. So irresponsible, very irresponsible to do such a thing. Now think about this now. Okay, so you recommended them and now you see the harms. Okay, you see the harms and you see the outcome. Okay, and they've admitted it to Al-Madad Outreach about their double life and their sick intentions, okay, through various mediums that are available, and some are public and some are private, okay. Al-Madad Outreach has various information, and if anyone was interested, if you are interested, by the way, which you should have been, before poking your nose in this matter, before inviting Abdullah, you should have fact-checked and you should have went to Al-Madad Outreach before inviting her, as your title requires of you, okay? But you didn't. So, I want to ask this question now, okay? And it's on screen, okay? This is from Muslim Daily, okay? If I recommended someone to go to a particular doctor or a therapist, etc., then the doctor turns out to be a rapist and a criminal or taking people's money, do I not have a duty to speak out against the doctor and take back my recommendation so the people or that people are not harmed or scammed by the doctor? So if I've recommended someone to a doctor and I've recommended someone to a certain person, okay, and they turn out to be just monstrous people, then it's incumbent on me, because I've recommended a group of people or an individual or a family to go, and seek their assistance, services, or whatever they may be, and they turn out to be just like the most evil people of society, and they get harmed physically, emotionally, or whatever it may be, then I would feel a bit of guilt. I would feel that there's a responsibility of me and a duty of me to go now and publicly proclaim that no, you should stay away from such people, and you should not go out to these people because of their evil, etc. But you didn't do so. So when you were aware of the issues, which you didn't fact check, you didn't go to Madad Outreach or Al-Madad Outreach to speak to them, because the information was at their fingertips. The information was there. They investigated it. They put the hours in. So if you wanted to get involved, why didn't you reach out? That's my question. And why did you warn against them? Why did you warn against them after being made aware? And if you say, well, I wasn't made aware, okay, I wasn't made aware, then before poking your nose in this matter, don't you think you should have investigated before bringing this fasiqa, okay, onto your live stream? Don't you think that was the most appropriate thing to do? I would have thought, due to your knowledge and caliber and experience, that you would have taken those appropriate measures, but I'm probably gullible as well. With the celebrity culture and the celebrity shayukh that are out there, that think they're untouchable, that they think they can't be critiqued or criticised by those who, again, probably not have studied as much as you, probably didn't go out and studied in a reputable institute or university, no problem. But like I said before, we are Muslims and we speak out when haqq needs to be spoken, regardless. Okay? So don't think that you're going to pull out there and start saying, I know my usul and I know. No problem. You think we don't either? You think we don't? Just because we haven't got titles next to our name, don't you think we studied? Don't you think we know qawaid and we know usul and we know dawabit? Okay? Because you're not going to fool us with technicalities. Remember, the last person you want to fool with technicalities is me. I'll tell you that now. Okay? Don't be that gullible. In conclusion, and to summarize, there's a lot more behind the scenes, okay, with these fraudsters, Abdullah and Hasanat. There's a lot more. Believe me, there's a lot more. I'm restricted in what I can say. And a person like me, who's a layman, who's from the UK, by the way, has sought this information, okay, and has followed developments, and has tried his best to stick to Islamic guidelines when investigating matters, especially when it involves lewdness, i.e. sex, double life, using their platform, presenting a certain fairy tale or story, and then behind the scenes behaving in such negative and disrespectful ways, especially when it comes to the honor of the believers, what they've been saying against Allah Azza wa Jal. Let's put it that way. There's some shocking statements that they've made against Allah Azza wa Jal. Pilgrim strikes again. Pilgrim strikes again. Okay, pilgrim strikes again. People won't know what I mean by that, but believe you me, if you're watching, you know what I mean, and you know that there's many other things as well that's not been released to the public. So coming out, don't think you're going to come out and go back to your public life again. No. Don't think that will ever happen again. And I'll tell you now, don't be dumb enough to do that. Okay? because you'll be shunned. Okay? And anyone thereafter now, so I'm talking to the believers now, okay? I'm talking to the Muslims. Okay? I'm not insinuating Abdullah isn't Muslim, but she's a fasiqah. Okay? Your testimony can never be accepted from what is apparent. Okay? Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive. No doubt about it. If the condition of tawbah is met. As the Prophet says, alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, an-nadam tawbah. That regret is tawbah. So you have to have regret. The prerequisite of tawbah is to have regret for your actions. وَتَائِبْ مِنَ الذَّنْبِ. That the one that seeks forgiveness from a sin, كَمَنْ لَا ذَنْبَ لَهُ. Or كَمَنْ لَا ذَنْبَ لَهُ. The one that hasn't done a sin. So remember, seek tawbah if you're sincere. That's between you and your Lord. But us believers would never ever be bitten by the same hole twice, as Brother Hijab put it beautifully. So to us now, okay, the ones that were disrespected and were fooled, were deceived, celebrity influencers, don't compromise your deen. Don't compromise the deen of Islam just because you see a person, for whatever reason, doing, comedy or even reminders. They got a thobe and they got a beard, and all of a sudden, they come out and they be with their partners and they're showing affection and your heart mouth. It's like, subhanAllah, oh, look at them, a cute couple. And then all of a sudden, they start fundraising. If they start fundraising using their platform through reputable charities, and they prove that they are, they give the link and they say, you know what, this is through them. Even then, investigate it to the core. Or rather, give it to the charity directly. If you're going to give it, so think about it this way. Someone like an influencer, or even, YouTubers, or those in the da'wah, the prominent ones in the da'wah, and they seek, funds or raise funds, then best thing to do is obviously confirm whether the money is going to that reputable charity. Inquire. Contact them privately. Say, I've donated £10 or £20 or £30. Can I ask if that money's reached the charity, please? And if you want to really be pushy, say, can you prove it to me? Because I want to know my donations are going. So that brother, whether it's, whoever it may be, but just say myself, just put myself in there, I would obviously have to have the duty of me is then to provide that information. You've got the right to. You've got the right to push it forward and force an answer out of me. And that's what we should be doing from here on in. And you see them wear the shawl, and then they have a beard and the muswak, and then they start quoting ahadith, and then you get your heart mouth. You see the sister wearing niqab and hijab, and they're getting all affectionate. Oh, subhanallah, then there's fundraise. Oh, let's give it to them. So that's the message. Okay, just don't be fooled. Just ponder now. We've got to be smart. We have to take the bull by the horns. Anything that happens, especially when it comes to matters such as these, we have to be taking lessons from it. Now that this has happened and we've found out the truth and everything is clear, we've got the report, the Al-Madad outreach or any counselling Muslim organisation that gets involved and gets actively involved, we should be moving forward to the future, so that when these sort of influences come out, you be very, very careful. You start now, you stick your chest down, you think, okay, all right, we know what happened last time, it ain't gonna happen again. That's it, a wall. You understand? Game face on, chin down, like they say in boxing, gum shield in, chin down. That's it. So it's mostly the youth, but the youth would need to understand this ain't a game anymore. It's real life. Real life. Money was usurped, mishandled, misappropriated. As I mentioned before, if you look at the currency exchange, okay, and we took out the travel expenses, we gave you some leeway. All right, then that's fine. Travel expenses, hotels, or whatever. Even then, the currency exchange, the amount of money that's in that currency, and yet it's unaccounted for, and there's no proof. And there's so much money, but yet there's no receipts. But only a handful of photos and a few videos that get sent, and then standing next to all, giving food and giving money out. Khalas, that money that was obviously unaccounted for was definitely spent. Khalas, but they're known to live a double life. And as I mentioned before, pilgrim strikes again, and various other things, which obviously hasn't been made public, and certain things that have. So please think about your actions. And to these prominent influencers or even shuyukh who have got this celebrity-like following, you are responsible. You are responsible for your actions. Layman or non-layman. Was haqq is haqq. If you step out of line and you do not adhere to Islamic principles, then we have the right to call you out for it. And don't start playing the card as fanboys and fangirls start saying, oh, well, who are you? Look at the work. Are you negating it? Don't pull that out, because no one is denying that. But they've got a right, or we've got a right, to call you to account. Okay? Never forget that. And as a message to all of you, all of these shuyukh and all of these celebrity shuyukh, don't think you're untouchable. Put it that way. Because the Muslim and the izzah and haqq is what we strive to follow, and we will work tirelessly to smell out where they come from you as well. So be warned. This is a lesson for every single one of you, and to us as well, because we've put ourselves in a position that where we were manipulated and gullible enough to fund the lifestyle, in essence, of two unknown individuals, but in essence we made them into something that, you know, no talent whatsoever, but we put them on a pedestal and we donated our hard-earned money to them, which they stole and used for their own private gains. So just a lesson, please be careful, and you are responsible for your actions, and never allow this to happen to us again. Okay, so until next time, take care of yourselves, make dua for me, follow the channel. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.
كم مرة عصف الأنين بداخلي، كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه محن تمر، وكم كرهت مصابها لكن رأيت الخير يسكب في أنا، كم مرة قد ضقت من عظم البلاء، بشر وشيطان يحاصرني أباه، كم مرة قد أظلم الدرب ضحى وتحدر الدمع وضاقت بي رؤى، كم مرة عصف الأنين بداخلي، كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه محن تمر، وكم كرهت